Good evening, everyone. I think we are live here on Facebook. I'm McKenna. I'm the owner of Murder by the Book in Houston, Texas, and I am so excited to be joined tonight by 5 authors for a panel discussion that surely will be fantastic. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get everyone introduced, give everyone a chance to say hi so that you know which author goes with which video. And then I'm going to duck away, let them chat, and come back for questions in the comments. So make sure if you have any questions for individual authors or for the whole group to pop them there in the comments. I'll also put a link in with all the details about all the authors' latest books. I'm sorry for my dog barking. It is a Zoom event. Which one wouldn't be complete without a dog barking? Anyway, so back to the authors. So we'll start with Deborah Goldstein. So Deborah Goldstein is the author of the Sarah Blair Mysteries, as well as Should Have Played Poker, a Carrie Martin and the Mahjong Players mystery, and the 2012 Ippy Award-winning Maze in Blue, a mystery set on the University of Michigan's campus. A judge, author, litigator, wife, stepmom, and mother of twins, Deborah is an involved community volunteer, MWA member, and serves as a national board member of Sisters in Crime, as well as being the Sisters in Crime Guppy Chapter's president. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Wonderful. I'm sorry these intros are going to take a few minutes, so it's the nature of the beast. Okay. Thank you for being here. Becky Clark is the 7th of 8 kids, which explains both her insatiable need for attention and her atrocious table manners. She likes to read funny books, so it felt natural to write them too. She surrounds herself with quirky people and pets who end up as characters in her books. Hi, Becky.
Hi, McKenna.
There you are. Hi, Becky.
Yes.
Of course, thank you for being here. All right, Cynthia Kuhn is a professor and author of the Lionel Mclean Academic Mysteries. Her honors include an Agatha Award for Best First Novel, a Malice Domestic Grant, and Lefty Award nominations for Best Humorous Mystery. Originally from upstate New York, she lives with her family in Colorado. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, McKenna.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to listen to this. Scott Graham is the National Outdoor Book Award-winning author of the acclaimed National Park Mystery Series, featuring archaeologist Chuck Bender and his wife, paramedic Janelle Ortega. He lives with his wife, an emergency physician in Durango, Colorado. He's worked as a newspaper reporter, magazine editor, radio disc jockey, and coal shoveling fireman on the steam-powered Durango-Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. Hi, Scott.
Hi, McKenna.
All right, and last but not least, Margaret Mizushima is the author of the award-winning and internationally published Timber Creek Canine Mysteries. Margaret serves as president for the Rocky Mountain chapter of Mystery Writers of America, was elected the 2019-2020 Writer of the Year by Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers, and is also a member of Northern Colorado Writers and Sisters in Crime. She lives in Colorado on a small ranch with her veterinarian husband, where they raised 2 daughters and a multitude of animals. Hi, Margaret.
Hi, McKenna.
All right, now that
to be here.
Oh, well, I'm so excited to chat with all of you. For those of you watching, put those questions in the comments. I'll be there monitoring everything on Facebook. I'm going to go away, let these people talk, and I'll be back in a little bit. You guys have fun.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, McKenna. I'm going to take over now. I've John, what I think is the long straw. I get to be the moderator for tonight's event. Welcome everyone to this wonderful evening. I'm thrilled to be here. For those of you who don't know the 4 authors that I'm going to get to ask questions of here over the next few minutes, we're in august company, and I am thrilled to be here. I've enjoyed learning more about these authors to get prepared for tonight's event, and these folks, now I will say we're so thrilled, all of us, and I'll thank Murder by the Book on behalf of all of us right now to say how wonderful it is for us all to be here. I looked ahead just like the next 3 weeks at Murder by the Book. We're here with Tana French, John Grisham, Lee Child, Michael Connelly, and Anthony Horowitz. And so I'm thrilled to be in that company, but I'm also thrilled to be here with these folks because, again, if you heard Ippy Awards, you heard Agatha Awards mentioned, you heard presidency of the Rocky Mountain Mystery Writers Association. We've got some top folks here with us tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing all of you talk about what it is you do and why you've been so successful at doing it. what I would like to do is give each of you a chance to just take another minute or so and talk a little bit more about what your latest work is that you've got going on right now. Let's begin with Margaret and work through from there, and just mention briefly where you're at so that our audience can get to know and hear from you personally.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Well, first of all, right up front, I want to stake a claim on a little part of Texas, because as a young child, I grew up on a cattle ranch near Hereford, Texas in the Panhandle. And so it's really fun to be in Houston tonight via Zoom. I wish we were live in person, but unfortunately, no. So like Scott said, and I'm Margaret Mizushima. I write the Timber Creek Canine Mysteries. And my latest book is Hanging Falls. It's number 6 in the series, and the series features a canine deputy who works in a very rural, mountainous jurisdiction for a sheriff. And her name is Maddie Cobb. Her dog, Robo, who is her canine partner, a German Shepherd. And then the third protagonist is Cole Walker, DVM, a veterinarian who is Robo's doctor and Maddie's love interest. So thank you. Hanging Falls, number 6 in the series.
And Becky, let's move on to you.
Okay, let's do that. I write a bunch of different stuff. My newest isn't quite out yet. It's launching on November 3rd. So I'm having a huge party. Come go to my website, beckyclarkbooks.com, and check out all the launch fun and activities. It's Puzzling Inc. is the name of the book, and it is the crossword puzzle mysteries series. And Quinn is she creates crossword puzzles. She's a constructor, and she has a little bit of OCD, which kind of knocked her flat and spun her life out of control. And one of the things that she's dealing with while she's trying to deal with her personal life is somebody who she finds dead in her diner where she's a waitress, and on food that she served and on her watch and stuff. But what you guys probably want to care about is my mystery writers' mysteries. Fiction Can Be Murder and Foul Play on Words. They are, and the new one, gonna come out, Metaphor for Murder. They are with the Charlie Russo is a mystery writer, and she finds herself in all kinds of ridiculous trouble. All she wants to do is write mysteries. She doesn't want to find herself in the middle of mysteries. So she has to realize that she can solve these mysteries if she can write them. So she has a personal life that has a little bit of trouble. So, but I write a lot of stuff. Go visit the website of all of us and find out more about us than just 2 minutes.
Two mystery series for the price of one. Deborah.
Okay, fine. The series that I now write, I'm Judge Deborah H. Goldstein, and I write the Sarah Blair mystery series. And the best way to talk about Sarah is to describe her as a woman who finds being in the kitchen more frightening than murder. She was married at 18, divorced at 28, and the only thing she got out of the marriage, as you can see, is this cat, Rara. And this on the One Taste Too Many, the first book. She was trying to find herself, unlike her twin sister, Emily, who knew from day one she wanted to be a chef. So we have one who's petrified of the restaurant or the kitchen, and the other who loves it. But in this particular case, in the first book, we have that rat who she was married to found dead on the first page because he ate, apparently, a bite of Chef Emily's award-winning rhubarb crisp. As the books progress, and there's 3 now in the series, the 4th one will come out next year, Sarah moves up. She gets a little more confident. She becomes a little bit more together. In the second book, she has to defend her mother, but in the third book, which is the one that came out 2 weeks ago, and this is the one that's in the story, as you can see, rest in peace, it's 3 Treats Too Many. 3 Treats Too Many, she's really coming into her own. Even the cat is looking at her differently. She's part owner of the restaurant because she owns the building, but she can't get the restaurant open because she can't get a final inspection. Her nemesis, the bimbo who broke up her marriage, has the restaurant across the street, and she's doing great guns business. That is with the vegan chef she has, until the vegan chef is killed. And Sarah's good friend is standing over the body. So once again, Sarah gets sucked into a mystery. I write for fun, I write for humor, and you know, I can't help it. I have dead bodies.
There you go. Cynthia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Kuhn, and I write the Lionel Mclean Academic Mysteries. This is the 5th in the series, The Study of Secrets, in which our professor turned amateur sleuth is on sabbatical in a Victorian mansion, which includes a body in the study. They are light, humorous mysteries, and each one of the 5 focuses on a different sort of academic topic. And it takes place at Stonedale University, which is a fictional campus in Colorado.
Wonderful. And I'll take one more opportunity to mention as well. I've got 6 mysteries out myself. My 6th just came out last month. Mesa Verde Victim, part of the National Park Mystery Series. Obviously, each book is set in a national park. The most recent in Mesa Verde National Park, near my home in southwestern Colorado. My series features an archaeologist and his wife and family who travel to each national park to do archaeological contract work through my lead protagonist. And then the bodies pile up. The authorities inexplicably are incapable of solving the crime. And it takes my protagonist family to dive in and take care of things as amateur sleuths. I appreciate your checking out my work as well as everyone here. For questions, what I wanted to do is swing through each of you and ask some questions about craft, some about your personal lives, some about your specific series. And I really want to start with Deborah Goldstein. Deborah, the reason I want to start with you is because it just intrigues me so much that you gave up what to all of us here recognize is a wonderful life, a very hard worked for life as a federal level U.S. judge. That was a lifelong appointment to turn your attention to being a mystery author at a time when, as I understand it, you weren't to the successful level that you are today. And, you know, as someone who is now, and all of us here, I think, and all of us listening in, love mysteries, we're dedicating our lives to writing these mysteries. But for someone like you, I just want to know, what was it about writing mysteries that drew you from that amazing life that you'd worked so hard for to then move on to this, what it's to me a wonderful life as well?
In one word, it was passion. I loved to write, but I always was the one who wrote the skits, the comedy things for other groups. And I was the one who talked about writing, but I never did it. And my friends and things basically, and I won't go into the details, threatened me that I needed to do so. And over the years, I kept playing. I had an idea for that University of Michigan book, and I'd play with it, and I wouldn't do it. And then I basically was threatened for my life if I wouldn't do it. So I did it. The book came out in 2011, but I was still on the bench. And I thought I could keep the 2 careers separate. And to tell a very quick anecdote, this is why I got off the bench. I had sold the second book, the poker book. It wasn't coming out till 2016, though, because of the calendar year. And if you can picture me, not in peach, but in all black, sitting a little higher than you. And I'm sitting there. And I have these lawyers trained. I've been on the bench over 20 years because I got on at 36 when the average age was 58. And I would have them trained. At every end of the hearing, I would say, is there anything further? They would say, no, Your Honor. And I would do a standard closing. On this day, the attorney, who was a great attorney, did exactly what he was supposed to do. But his client, before I could get the words out of my mouth, said, no, there's one more thing. I looked to the lawyer and I wanted him to get the gentleman under control. And he went, which meant I knew he couldn't control the client. So I asked, sir, what is it? And the gentleman looked at me, the client, and said, Your Honor, I just want you to know, no matter how you rule, I'm going to buy your book. Well, when he said that, and I'm sure he didn't because I ruled against him, but I went home that night and I said to my husband, look, I've been on this, I can do this for another 20 years, or I could follow my passion. The last kid's out of school, let's work the numbers. And if things work right, I really want to make a go of trying something that I've never done and I did it. And I've had a blast. I probably more than anybody else am on a roller coaster of fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. I really appreciate hearing that. I think fun is a key word here. Writing mysteries is a fun pastime for me. I know it is for Becky and for Cynthia. And I've got a question that's kind of to both of you, in that not only are you both being very successful as mystery authors, you're also instructors in terms of the writing that you do, Becky. You've got instruction in nonfiction books out there, how to, and then Cynthia, I don't think it's gotten to be mentioned yet, but you're a professor at, it's Metro State, right, in Denver, and a professor of English. I'm curious to hear from both of you how you go back and forth between wearing those two hats, the instructor hat, and then how that can either help or perhaps it proves to be a detriment to your writing. And Becky, let's start with you.
Well, for me, it was a kind of a natural offshoot. You know, I started out before I was published, going to writers' conferences, and I made my way through them. I just love writers' conferences where you meet up with your tribe and you network with people and you meet all your friends. And we're lucky here in Colorado, we have some really great writers' conferences all over the state. And at one point, they asked me to teach some classes and to be the MC for their conference. And I was so flattered, you know, because I was nobody and I don't think I was published. Maybe I was, but I don't really remember. But it was just so natural for me. And I never teach about stuff like how to write great dialogue or setting, or, you know, move your prose to the next level, because that's what Cynthia can do. I can't do that. What I can do, though, is teach business type things that go with writing. I can teach how to speed up your writing. That's my newest book, 8 Weeks to a Complete Novel. Here, let me show you.
Absolutely.
It's glaring. But I can teach people how to work the business side of writing, how to handle time management issues and those kinds of things. I don't talk so much about craft when I teach. I talk more about, I assume everybody can write wonderful books, and the things I can teach them is how to do it faster, or how to work with an agent or an editor or things like that. So I don't teach crafty stuff, but I really love doing it. I think it's so much fun to see that light bulb go off. You know, when I started out, I was writing for kids, and I would talk to kids about writing. And one of the things I would tell them is, you have to see a movie in your head when you're reading, and you could actually see that light bulb go off for some kids. And it's the same thing with adults. When you get the right set of circumstances and somebody all of a sudden gets something, because you can hear the same thing a million times, but it takes 1,000,001 time before you actually internalize it and can use it. So that's what I like to see. I like to help people do that.
Terrific. I can see where those are separate worlds then, more than I perhaps thought they were. But Cynthia, I mean, your worlds really collide. I mean, they're really, you've got an amateur sleuth who is an academician. You're an academician. You're teaching writing. You're trying to write, and you're writing very successful. I shouldn't say you're trying to write. And tell me how you manage all those worlds.
It's a juggling act, you know, just in the first place to get everything done. And to move back and forth between them. But to me, they're so connected, because when I teach writing classes, I feel as though, because I'm writing mysteries myself, I'm immersed in the process of writing all of the time, as are my students. And so I think it provides a really nice connection where I understand what they're going through when they're working on something, and can provide those kinds of encouragements to them. I also feel like every conference that I've ever gone to allows me to pick up new information, whether it's on a craft panel that I'm listening to or participating in, and take that back to the classes as well. And it's interesting because the school at which I teach is a large public urban school in downtown Denver. And the school and my books are small, private, in the foothills of Colorado. I wanted them to be as opposite as possible so that there was no implication that I was somehow writing a roman à clé or some kind of, expose of something. They're very, different kinds of situations, but there are certain ebbs and flows in the academic year that line up with some of the things that I can write about in there. And I also think that the work, day-to-day work as a professor, allows me to put realistic details in to the novels that otherwise, somebody might not think, oh, this meeting is about assessment, and who talks about assessment outside of teachers? I mean, I don't know. So I think that it is helpful in bringing sort of a genuine description.
Terrific.
If that makes sense. Okay.
Absolutely. Margaret, I've been impressed watching your career develop in the fact that not only have you been putting out these mysteries that have been doing very well, but you've really assumed a leadership role in the mystery writer community. I think you're the current president of the Rocky Mountain Mystery Writers of America chapter in Denver and in the Rocky Mountain region. You're very active with Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers, and you're the current Fiction Writer of the Year for Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers. I think with the MWA, with the Mystery Writers, through your Rocky Mountain presidency, you're also a real part of the national organization as well, participating at the national level. I would love to hear you talk about, number one, what that does for you as a writer, and then also just how that has occurred and how you are able to give back in that way and still pump out the kind of quality of work and level of work that you're doing.
Well, first of all, I'm no longer the current Writer of the Year. I was replaced this summer by the wonderful writer Carrie Schaefer. So, but I enjoyed that year that I was able to stake my claim to that one. But it's like Cynthia said, it's very much a juggling act, and I think Cynthia was one of my role models. Actually, she's done so many things for Sisters in Crime, and
you're so nice.
I happen to really get involved with the local chapter of Mystery Writers of America, and so we kind of were on current pathways together. And I live here in Colorado, so does everyone except for Deborah. So it is definitely a juggling act, and I've had to really focus a lot on what I know and what I need to research as far as getting these books written. We've been putting out one a year, and I fortunately know the life of a veterinarian since I've been married to one for 40 years. So that has really helped. And then he can help me with some of my research too, whenever we're having a theme that has to do with drug abuse in animals or something like that. So then the research I've had to really do is that of a law enforcement officer and a canine handler. And luckily I have wonderful consultants who have helped me with that. And so just have to really work hard to put it together.
Well, clearly you do. I'm hoping, yeah, and that segue you're talking about your series and the work it takes will move me to the next round of questions, which will be specific to each of your series, to give you a chance to talk a little bit about your series. Becky, I wanted to start with you and ask you, you can speak to either of your series or both. When you're working on your main character for your series, how much is your main character like yourself? And I'll ask you, should we be frightened? Because I do know that in these mysteries, people tend to wind up dead quite a bit. So if there's much of yourself in your main characters, do we need to kind of keep our distance from them?
No. I am so sweet all the time. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth. How are my characters like me? Well, okay, so my first series of books, the Done Deal series, Banana Bamboozle and Marshmallow Mayhem, those are written with a friend of mine from college. And it's dual protagonists in these. And we we are pretty much those characters. You know, they're 50 years old. They were besties in college, and you know, they still keep in touch and stuff. But she's single. I've been married for a long time. She's a little bit impetuous. Oh, her name's Cassidy Dunn. They're the Dunn Deal. She's Cassidy Dunn. He's Dan Deal. So it's the Dunn Deal series.
There you go.
But we're, you know, she's just kind of over the top and a little flighty, and I am not. I am very much grounded. Charlie Russo in the Mystery Writers Mysteries, she's kind of like me too, but younger, because most people are younger, I am finding. We both love grilled cheese. She is a mystery writer, as am I, so we know all the right people, all the same people. So that's fun, but she has quite a bit of drama in her background that I don't have. I had the perfect childhood, the perfect life, and she does not. She also has a very hot boyfriend, which I do not. I am happily married, so no hot boyfriends in my life. And in the new ones, in the, can you guys hear my husband's phone?
We can. It'll go away soon. Feel free to move on.
I'm so sorry.
No. We're Zooming. We are Zooming.
Let's just pretend we're in a blues club right now.
There you go.
So in the crossword mysteries, Quinn Carr is a, I don't have much in common with her, actually. So I've kind of gone through the whole segment of very much like me, kind of like me, and then not so much like me. Quinn is younger again. The only real thing that we have in common is that we have fun and loving family and friends. But Quinn is challenged by her OCD and her obsessive compulsive disorder that kind of made her hit rock bottom. And she lost her job, she lost her independence, she pretty much lost her hope and had to move back home. And as I say that, I should also tell you that these are funny books. So it's not dismal or anything. These are funny, cozy books. She manages just fine. And she is a crossword puzzle creator, constructor. And so I've had to teach myself how to do that. And it made perfect sense to me when I was looking for this series hook that somebody with organizational OCD would really be drawn toward crossword creation. So that's kind of how that ties in. But it is interesting now that I think about it. I have kind of run the whole gamut of very much like me to not at all like me. I hope that means I'm growing as a writer and branching out a little bit.
That's terrific. I like that term, series hook. That's a new one for me. And it leads me to my question actually for Deborah. Deborah, as we know, viewers watching know, mysteries have a template, right? There's a template that we're supposed to follow. 3 of the 5 of us here tonight write cozy mysteries. So then there's almost a template within a template for a cozy mystery versus, say, a police procedural that Margaret writes or an amateur sleuth mystery that I write. So Deborah, you're writing cozies, you're writing mysteries. What have you done to assure that your series stands out and is different from all the other series that are out there?
Well, basically, I turned it on its head because a cozy normally has a small setting. Okay, fine. I have a small southern town. I knew how to write that. But often they have cooking, crafts, or something of that nature. And I realized something when I went to write. I don't like to cook. I don't bake, and I am lousy at crafts. I'm the kind that if I go to sew something, I sew it to what I'm wearing and I cut a hole in both. So, which really did happen. So I decided I would have a character because I realized there had to be other people out there like me, people who find the kitchen absolutely frightening. I mean, if I cook more than 2 nights in a row, my husband wants to go out. So I decided to create Sarah, married at 18, divorced at 28. A lot of them have younger amateur sleuths. I could do that. It's not like me in the sense that I've been married 30 some years now. So, you know, that I had to figure out. And then I also decided I needed to have recipes because cozies often have a cat or a dog. So I put both in my books. But I didn't quite do the traditional recipes. Some of my recipes are more traditional, like some of the soup recipes in the new 3 Treats Too Many. But you also in 3 Treats Too Many have things like how to make butternut squash soup in a crock pot. And my other famous recipes are Jell-O in a can. And I'm known for my spinach pie made of Stouffer souffle. I mean, let's face it, I was the kind of person who, when they had my wedding shower, it was guess what's in the box. And when I pulled out some nice paper plates, they went, oh, look, she got her good china. And that's the character I've developed.
Terrific, terrific. Talking about main characters, Margaret, your main character, Maddie Cobb, has really faced a tough life. She's working through your series to overcome that tough life. Can you talk about where you came up with that character and how you've developed her over your series?
Yes, Maddie, I did give Maddie a lot of baggage for her to carry around, and she's been kind of gradually unpacking that as the series has progressed. I think the first character that came to me was Cole Walker, the veterinarian. My husband goes on farm calls, and everywhere he goes, people want to watch him work. And so I thought, okay, I really want to put this veterinarian in a series because I think people might want to read about a vet working. Then I thought, I really love police procedurals. And so I need to have another protagonist, and let's go with what makes sense. And that's a dog handler. Lucky for me, my mother happened to have a fellow public health nurse friend who had a daughter who was a retired canine handler from Bellingham, Washington. And she had moved to Fort Collins, Colorado, near where I live. And I was able to go ahead and shadow her while she was training some people to perform in AKC tracking trials, American Kennel Club tracking trials. And so I was able to shadow her. After her clients left, we would sit in the car and she would just tell me many, many stories about the prowess of her dog, who was named Robo, and all of the different things he could do, like evidence detection, finding missing people, so serving dual service as a search and rescue dog, even though he was also very fierce and could track a fugitive, and upon command, take down that fugitive. So I was just amazed at how smart this particular Robo was. And so it inspired me to go ahead and develop my Maddie Cobb character. And my friend who inspired the character did not have any of the baggage that I gave poor Maddie. But I did decide that Maddie needed to have some things that she needed to work through in order to make the series arc fairly interesting. And so even though each mystery or book stands alone as a mystery that is solved by the end of the book, there's always something that Maddie and Cole are dealing with that kind of carries through the whole series.
Terrific, terrific. Cynthia, your main character, Lionel Mclean, is a real sweetheart. And I know you to be a very, I know the book I love is your most recent book. I really enjoyed, Study of Malice. And she's a sweet kind of person who gets herself into lots of trouble. You know, what I know of you is you're a sweet person too. And you're the kind of person I know everybody probably wants to have as a professor, because you just don't have that professor demeanor that's going to, you know, it's, what you're going to do is attract people to your classes. So if you've got, you know, if you've got this kind of sweet personality, what I want to know is if you're tell me this, if your latest book were any candy that was out there, what kind of candy would it be and why?
That question took a turn that I didn't expect.
I knew.
Okay.
You're a professor. I'm trying to trip you up.
You did. Gold stars. I think, I don't know, let's say a Heath bar. It's like business on the outside, but crunchy and satisfying on the inside. That's maybe the book. I don't know. That sounds too braggy though. So maybe Milk Duds. I don't know. I fail.
Sorry. Tell us a little bit about Lionel Mclean. Tell us who she is and where she comes from.
Okay. So Lila is in the first book, she's a new assistant professor. She's just gotten the job and she's very excited to be on the tenure track, which is an arc that goes throughout the series. She grew up with a mother who is a very famous artist, who now lives in New York City. But as Lila was growing up, they went all around the country. They had this sort of bohemian existence. They would go wherever her mother could get a job. So sometimes she'd be teaching at schools, sometimes she'd be at art, what's it called when you all come together in artistic communities, let's say, work together. And so she grew up with sort of this very fluid background. So when she gets to Stonedale, which is a buttoned up kind of elitist, snobby location, she does not feel like she fits in. Her cousin is there though. Her name is Callista and she's a poet. And she also grew up with Lila because her parents died when she was young. So she does have this sort of sister figure there to help her out. She's very determined. She also wants to get tenure, so she feels like she has to navigate all of the unspoken codes that academia often has, and she has to figure out who to trust and who not to trust. She's curious, she loves teaching, and she teaches American literature, Gothic, and mystery. And in fact, the first book kicks off with with an argument with her department chair when she goes in and says that she'd like to teach mystery, to which he replies, you do know what counts as literature, right? And she does not like that at all. And he further sort of insults her dissertation topic, which is the wonderful Isabella Dare, who's a mystery writer. So they have this huge fight, and then within the hour, he's dead on the department library table with something stabbing through his tie. So she comes under scrutiny for that.
Tell us, Scott, you were telling us that you did the national parks, and you also told us about your characters. But from what I understand, you did a 360 from your own life, in the sense that you didn't write about your sons, you didn't write about your wife and the way she is. So tell us how you did your characters and how they've developed in your books.
Absolutely. In my case, I went with a setting that I'm familiar with. I love the national parks. I spent a lot of time there. I went with a protagonist who is a comfortable outdoors person, and so I wanted to at least have that comfort level that I could inhabit my protagonist in a way that I felt comfortable. But then, somewhat like Margaret, I wanted to have my protagonist also have some difficulties that he faced. And in my case, I was an at-home dad. My wife's a physician. I spent 20 years as an at-home dad to a couple of boys who are now young men, and had a great time doing that. But once I kind of managed to launch them with my wife, I had this chance to begin writing mysteries. And in this case, I decided, all right, what did not I get to do, which was raise a couple of daughters. So I threw a couple of stepdaughters at my protagonist to take a person I knew a little bit about, and then give him the challenges that he knew absolutely nothing about. And the result for me, you know, as just selfishly as a writer, is that I get to kind of explore this world of what it would be like to have a couple of teenage daughters. And I'm finding that even fictionally, it's a real challenge for me. I love the challenge of being a father, and so to kind of have a family-oriented mystery series has been a real pleasure for me. But like you said, it's also been a nice flip to be raising a couple of daughters through my series as well. Thanks for asking. And I think we've got time now to be able to turn and see if we're going to have some questions from our audience as well.
Yes, sir. We've got some questions. So thanks for turning it over to me. So let me get the list queued up really quickly. All right. So to start with, and we have 5 or 6. So let's try to keep our answers somewhat brief, maybe. So Teresa would like to know, what do you like best and worst about your characters? And I'm just going to go in the order that I see people. So Deborah, why don't you start?
What I like best about my characters is that they're funny and they're human. And what I like least about them is that they're funny and they're human. And that's the thing. You never know what they're going to do. I hear their voices in my head and I have to go with what they tell me. And that's where my issue becomes, because I don't always agree with them, but they're always right.
How about you, Scott?
I love about my character, my protagonist, that he's an archaeologist. I was raised in Durango, Colorado. I've lived here all my life. Archaeology is really a part of what we've got in this corner of the state. And so I've known archaeology kind of tangentially, but through my character, I've gotten to really enjoy researching and learning a whole bunch about archaeology that then I hope to share with my readers. So that's what I like most about my protagonist. What I like least about him is that I'm trying to make him be someone who's not the greatest, that he's, I guess I should say, he's learning to be a good parent. He's not been a parent. He's not had a good life model with what he was raised with. He was raised in a single home by a mother who didn't do a very good job of raising him. So he's kind of learning on the fly how to be a parent. And so that's I've specifically made it difficult for him, but at the same time, it's hard for me, someone who's really devoted himself to being a parent, to having a character who I'm trying to give difficulties to as being a parent.
Sure. All right, next in my counterclockwise circle here is Margaret. How about you?
Well, I think what I like the most about Maddie and Cole together is that they're both very caring people who care a lot about their community. And they both have challenges in their own personal lives that they're trying to work through. And it creates a lot of problems between them, but they're just trying to do the best they can to work through them. And I think what I like least is that Maddie especially tends to be very withdrawn. And whenever she is challenged in certain ways, it triggers all those feelings that she has from past childhood problems that cause her to move away from people. I just can't help it. That's what she does.
All right, how about you, Cynthia?
What I like most about them is that they make me laugh when I'm writing. They'll surprise me and do things that I don't expect. And what I like least about them is that some of them will kill you.
All right, Tracy.
Is it me?
Yep, Tracy, yes, please.
Becky?
Becky.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Becky.
That's
I
why
don't
I
know.
was confused.
I have no idea where I got Tracy from. I'm so sorry. There's no Tracy.
No problem.
I've got names in front of me and just said the wrong one.
The thing I like the most about my characters are they're all people I would want to hang out with in real life. They're fun and funny and charming in every possible way. The thing I like the least about them is that my main characters tend to be reluctant heroes. They would rather crawl under the covers with a grilled cheese sandwich than solve this crime. They always step up in the end, but it's kind of a challenge to get them to actually get involved and do what they need to do.
Fair enough. Again, I apologize about the name thing. I don't know what happened. I literally have it in front of me and just said the wrong thing. Okay, so I do have a question specific to Margaret. Christy says that she loves your books, but some of the storylines are a bit dark. How do you come up with those storylines, and do they ever get you down?
Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm so glad you like the series. Boy, I tell you, the summer that I wrote Hunting Hour, I was just so depressed that summer. It was a very depressing summer. And so maybe part of that darkness came through in that, but what's worse than having a missing child? I think, yeah, they are kind of dark. I don't have a dark life. some people like that and some people don't. It is quite different from the cozies that we've been talking about tonight, though.
Well, that's what makes the world go around. We all have our different tastes. So Jennifer Chow, who is also an author, has a question. It was said earlier that writing mysteries is fun. What was the most fun aspect of your latest book? Was it one particular scene, research, etc.? And this time, to make it fair, we're going to start with Becky.
Let's see, the most fun. I always have a lot of fun writing dialogue. I think that's it kind of comes pretty easy to me, and it's where a lot of my action happens. So that, and in the crossword mysteries, learning to make crossword puzzles has been really fun. Actually, it's crazy hard, but it's a lot of fun too.
All right, you, Cynthia?
Oh, in the latest, I also love writing dialogue. That's always like the most fun thing too. But for the latest book, I spent a ton of time and went down a rabbit hole looking up Victorian mansions so that I could describe it well. And I became sort of quasi obsessed with round rooms on a house. So that would have to be it. Thank you, Jennifer.
All right, Margaret.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I guess I feel like I'm echoing here, but it was the research component in Hanging Falls that I really enjoyed. There are a couple of things that I don't know a lot about, and one is that I included a cult in this particular mystery, and so that was fun to do some research on that. It was also fun trying to make that cult look nothing like any of the other groups that I happen to know about around here, especially here in the West. And then the other thing I really enjoyed was researching the drug that was involved in that particular mystery. Again, I typically use veterinary pharmaceuticals, and it's always fun to find out exactly, how that pharmaceutical affects people and how it might be used to kill people.
All right, Scott, you're up.
All right, that's a wonderful question, actually. In my case, I flipped the script on what I was talking about just a few minutes ago, in that with my fifth book, I had kind of worked up to the point where I had my protagonist Chuck kind of really facing his demons. We had his mother show up basically on scene with Arch's Enemy, the book that was set in Arches National Park in Utah last year, and the ending was pretty dark. And what I learned from that basically was that I can't be Margaret. I mean, I talk about being depressed, and I just couldn't do it. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna have some fun with this next book. And so what I did was I let Chuck finally come into his own as a parent. And he really has some fun with the younger of the two daughters, Rosie. They have some wonderful dialogue. Rosie's the real precocious daughter of the two. And she professes that she wants to be an archaeologist just like her stepdad. And there's a real warmth that develops through the book as a result of that. And that finding for me was really fun. And I think it really has stood out because the book is doing really well. It's gotten wonderful reviews. And so I think I've kind of flipped the script a little bit and have found that, okay, I'm going to hang over here with these cozy folks perhaps a little bit more than, I like Margaret as a person, but boy, oh boy,
All right, we've made it back to you, Deborah.
Well, I think for me, the fun of it, besides the dialogue, because I think that needs to be witty, is that in this book, Three Treats Too Many, I got to do two things. I wish I knew that I could have followed Margaret's husband. Instead, I shadowed another veterinarian because I wanted to do a veterinarian practice, because I think that the animals are important to develop in my book. So they have to go to the doctor occasionally. So I did some of that. The other thing was I decided I would add a motorcycle group, but not just the kind that you see stereotypically on TV. No, I did a community group, and I went out and interviewed friends of mine who ride bikes and cycles, and did a lot of homework and found all these interesting things, teachers who rode, all these things that I was able to incorporate for fun. And it's great because you take all this and then you go, okay, now I've got all this information, I'll digest it down to 2 paragraphs. But it's the characters that become fun.
Excellent. So I actually like this question that's coming up quite a bit. Trisha asks, have you ever written a character whom you were a bit jealous of, whether it was their job, relationship, or style? And I'm going to change things up and try to keep the order straight as I do it. So how about we start with Margaret this time?
Oh, I'm trying to think of any characters I might have been jealous of. One character that I might have, I kind of wish I had her profession is Stella Lasasso, who is the detective in the books. And so I might be a little bit jealous of her profession. I really like Stella because she is kind of, she has a sarcastic wit that reminds me of a friend, a good friend of mine. And so, yeah, it'd be Stella.
Excellent. Cynthia, how about you?
Oh, no question. It would be Violet O, who is the artist, who's Lila's mother. She travels all over the place. She has a huge personality. She doesn't care what anyone thinks. She makes amazing art, and she's fun and funny. So definitely Violet.
Sounds like pretty good lifestyle.
Yeah.
All right, Becky.
Well, this is a hard one. I guess I would be jealous of all of the dogs that are in my books because they have the life of Riley. Every dog I ever write about is based on my dog named Nala. She's a rescued greyhound mix, and she is the quirkiest, weirdest, goofiest dog you'd ever want to meet. And whether she's a bloodhound or a pug or anything in between, those dogs, they have a fantastic life because they're dogs.
Yep. I've got one sleeping here right next to me who looks as spoiled as she can be. All right, Deborah, how about you?
It's actually two in a sense, because I love Mother Maybelle because she takes no prisoners, and she has no filter. So I love that about her. But I also love Anne, who is a character who is on the city council and is now later by 3 tweets hinting she's running for mayor, because boy, she can be put together perfectly, which I can't. And she can run all across the town, and her little heels, which are not little, they're high. And I've never been able to make it in high heels. So I admire that.
All right, Scott.
So that is a great question, Tricia. I didn't even know the answer to this question until it was asked, but it occurs to me that the older of the two daughters, I mentioned Rosie, the older of the two daughters, Carmelita, who I didn't really know where she came from. Well, now I know. She came from a fit of jealousy because as she's gotten older, she has turned out to be a character who is extremely talented athletically, and this real beautiful athleticism to her, and as a result has become a real champion youth rock climber in her world. And I've got the family based in Durango, my hometown. I grew up wanting so badly to be a rock climber, and I finally got to try rock climbing when I was in my 20s, and I turned out to be an abject failure at it. I mean, I was literally terrible. If I'd have kept doing it, I wouldn't be here tonight. I'd have been dead a million times ago. And so now it's clear I'm jealous because I've turned this person. Here she is. She's who I wanted to be. She's quietly confident. She gets straight A's at school, and she's this wonderful athletic rock climber. So there you go. That's what I'm jealous of.
Excellent. So the last question from the comments that we have is from Bryce. He was wondering, in times and seasons of high stress like we're living through now, how do you maintain your humor? Because being honest, we all depend on your humor and lightness to get us through. Apparently, except Margaret. How about we start with Scott this time?
Sure. I'll tell you where it comes from. The Navajo people, the Dene people on the reservation are the people that my wife works with. She is an emergency room physician, and she works in the hospital that is the largest emergency room down on the Navajo reservation. Those people have come through what has been an awful experience. Anyone who knows the last few months and has been following what's been going on down there know that they have everything to be completely depressed about if they wish. And instead, these are people who have suffered genocide. They have suffered overwhelming oppression for many years. And so they're taking this in stride as well. My wife goes down to work. I go down with her down on the reservation. And these people have such a wonderful sense of humor. They have always had a wonderful sense of humor. My wife and I have been tied to the reservation throughout her entire career. And these people are terrific people. And so I watch them, I listen to them. I've seen that they have come through the other side of the COVID explosion that they had this summer. And they're still laughing and they're still happy and they're still enjoying themselves. And that's where I've learned to continue to appreciate life.
All right, how about you, Margaret?
I think that one thing I have in common with my veterinarian character is that I'm kind of a workaholic. And so it really helps me to just escape and come up into my writing space and just work every morning. And if I can reach my word count goal that day, then I'm happier. I do have some bits of humor in my books. It's sprinkled in pretty lightly. And I do want to make another comment about some of the dark themes. I do try to make them, the books, so that they can cross over to cozy readers, in that there's not much, there's the violence, other than Burning Ridge. I'm sorry, it got a little violent, but there's not a lot of violence on the page and not a lot of sex on the page. So I do try to keep them fairly light, except if you really think about the themes, yeah, they can get dark.
Excellent. Yeah, we like to call those cozies with edge, where there's not so much on screen, but the themes are a little darker. So I think that they're well balanced. And yeah, I was just joking about the darkness.
Oh, no problem. I think some of the people in your audience feel the very same way, and I do too, actually. So no.
All right, Cynthia, you're up.
I'm sorry, I forgot the question. I was so.
That's fine. I just got worried that I called you the wrong name. So hold on. All right, it is Cynthia. That's not wrong. The question was, hang on 1 second.
I remember.
How do you keep your sense of humor during this tough time?
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I mean, kind of like what Margaret's saying, that when I go into the writing space or when it's time to write, it's almost like I'm compartmentalizing. It takes me away from what's going on in the real world, the rest of the world around me. And it sort of acts as an escapist activity. And then I can tap into that because it just feels completely different than, in other words, I go into denial. Let's just call it what it is. I go into denial, I write some stories. That's where it happens. So thank you.
Awesome. Becky?
Well, that's an interesting question, Bryce, because this is a dark kind of time. I think that we do need the funny books and the funny stories. It's what I like to read as well. For me, this has been my career. Writing has been my career for many, many years, 20 years, maybe, I don't know. My first book was published in 2001. So yeah, 20 years. So I don't really have a choice. I have to go to work every day, and my commute is just a dozen stairs, but I do go to my office and I do work every single day. Well, on the days that I work, I take off weekends and Wednesdays, my fun day. But once, like everybody else said, once I get to that desk, it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter if I'm sad or angry or cranky or silly or tired. It just works. The writing makes me feel less angry and less tired and less cranky and all of that. So it's therapeutic once you get to it, I think.
Yep. All right, Deborah, I think you'll close this one off for us.
I think because I spent so many years being serious and trying to hide emotion, I think that now I just let the joy out. And therefore, when I start to write, the humor comes out, and I am in another world. Like Margaret, like Cynthia, I am immersed in the writing. And if it's a bad day, I'm not writing. I'm not like Margaret. I don't have a set pattern, but boy, the characters speak. And when they start going, I start laughing with them. I have social issues in the books, and I have that edgier side, but they're funny. So you let them be funny. And that's how I am enjoying it. It's joy.
Well, I think there's no better note to close on than that. So I'd like to thank everyone so much for joining us this evening. We do have copies of all the authors' books, either in stock or available for us to order. So please consider supporting the authors, supporting us putting on these events. All the links to purchase copies of the books, we've got the first in series as well as the latest books, all there for you to check out. I would like to once again thank all of these authors for joining us this evening, and wish everyone the very best. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.